There is a company worth over $20 billion. It has hundreds of aircraft in the air right now, millions of passengers every year, a bigger fleet than most national airlines. It owns 0 planes, not it leases most of its fleet, not it sold some and bought them back to save cash. 0, not one aircraft in its entire operation belongs to it. Every single plane flying under its control is owned by someone else. And here's what makes this strange. This isn't some startup playing a clever accounting trick. This is the model that the entire global aviation industry quietly runs on, and the airline sitting across from you on your next flight is almost certainly part of it. The company is AerCap. You've probably never heard of it. That's exactly how it works. A $20 billion business built entirely on staying invisible. To understand how a $20 billion company owns nothing, you have to understand what an airplane actually costs to own, and the purchase price is the easy part. A new Boeing 737, the plane you're most likely flying on right now, lists for about $100 million. The moment you own that aircraft, you own everything that comes with it. You own the depreciation. A new 737 loses roughly 5% of its value every year. Over 20 years, that's the entire plane gone, not most of it, all of it. You own the maintenance liability. Every 6 years, the aircraft needs what's called a heavy check, a full teardown inspection that can cost $2 million and takes the plane out of service for weeks. You own the storage risk. When a crisis hits and your flights disappear overnight, and in this industry they do, you still own that $100 million asset sitting on a tarmac doing nothing. And you own the obsolescence risk. The plane you bought today will be technologically outdated in 15 years. The newer model will burn 20% less fuel. Your competitors will have it. You'll be flying an aircraft that costs more to operate than theirs, on the same routes, competing on the same fares. Owning an airplane is not like owning a car. It's like owning a car that needs a $2 million service every few years, loses value constantly, and might become worthless if someone invents a better engine. So airlines lease instead, and AerCap is who they lease from. Here is how AerCap became worth $20 billion by owning things airlines didn't want to own. AerCap buys aircraft, hundreds of them, in bulk, directly from Boeing and Airbus. When you're ordering 200 planes at once, you get a price no single airline could ever negotiate. Then AerCap leases those planes to airlines around the world on contracts that typically run 10 to 12 years. The airline gets a modern aircraft without a $100 million upfront payment. They pay a monthly lease rate, predictable, manageable, off the balance sheet in ways that matter to investors. When the lease ends, the plane goes back to AerCap. AerCap releases it to another airline somewhere else, or sells it or parts it out. The asset never stops working, it just changes hands over and over again. AerCap currently owns over 1,700 aircraft, leased to more than 300 airlines across 100 countries. The total value of that fleet is around $60 billion. They are, by almost any measure, the largest aircraft lessor in the world. The plane you flew on last week, the one with the airline's logo on the tail, the airline's name on the overhead bins, the airline's safety card in the seat pocket. There's roughly a 50% chance AerCap owned that airplane. You just flew on AerCap's plane and had no idea. Every passenger on that flight had no idea. The flight attendants probably had no idea. That's the whole point. But here's where it gets complicated. Because this model, as elegant as it sounds, almost collapsed completely, and it happened fast. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Within days, Western governments imposed sweeping sanctions on Russia. AerCap had 135 aircraft leased to Russian airlines, combined value, $3.1 billion. The sanctions meant AerCap had to immediately terminate those leases. They sent legal notices to Russian carriers demanding their planes back, formal, binding, unambiguous. Russia's response was to simply not give them back. Russian airlines kept the aircraft, kept flying them, ignored the termination notices entirely, and the Russian government made it clear the planes weren't going anywhere. $3.1 billion in aircraft stranded inside Russia with no legal mechanism to retrieve them. AerCap went to their insurers. They filed claims for the full value. The insurers pushed back, arguing the situation was unprecedented. AerCap sued. Lloyd's of London contested. The legal battle ran for years. Some settlements came through. Others are still unresolved. The full story isn't over. And yet AerCap survived. Their stock dropped. Their losses were real. But the rest of their 1,600+ aircraft kept flying, kept generating lease revenue, and the business kept running, because a 135 planes trapped in Russia still left 1,600 working everywhere else. The Russia situation didn't break the model, it proved it. The model held because the risk was spread across 300 airlines in 100 countries. No single event could take it all down at once. Because of companies like AerCap, airlines can grow without raising billions in capital. A startup airline in Southeast Asia can launch with modern 787s without ever having the cash to buy one. An established carrier can upgrade its entire fleet without a shareholder vote on a $10 billion purchase. The barrier to entry in aviation dropped significantly the moment leasing became the standard. The reason you can book a flight from a mid-size American city to a European capital for $400 has a lot to do with the fact that the airline operating that flight doesn't carry $100 million aircraft purchases on its books. AerCap made that possible, and most passengers will never know the name. AerCap has no terminal, no check-in counter, no boarding gate, no in-flight magazine, nothing that puts their name in front of a customer. What they have is a $60 billion fleet, spread across every major airline on Earth, quietly generating lease payments every single month from carriers that can't afford to own what they fly. AerCap doesn't fly anything. They have no pilots, no flight attendants, no routes, no loyalty program. They don't move a single passenger. They just own the machines that make all of it possible. A $20 billion company, built entirely on metal sitting in other people's hands, flying other people's routes, carrying other people's passengers, 0 planes of their own, and somehow that's the whole business.